Boom, let's go. Josh Inglis, Gary Sheffield Jr., host of Yankees Unloaded podcast, available on YouTube. Covers today. Let's go. We're down the stretch, Gary. We got the break coming. Before we get to the big questions, if you're a player like Juan Soto got the snub, does that mean anything, or are you going to enjoy vacation a little more than going to the All-Star game?
I've heard it a lot. I feel like I've heard a lot of players say, yeah, I would have loved to make the All-Star team, but it's nice to have the break too. But then it was funny listening to Juan Soto. I always thought there's not really any reason for us to talk to these guys because they can't really give us what's on their mind. They can't tell us the honest truth. And then all of a sudden Juan Soto was like, yeah, I would have made some more bread if I actually would have just been on the team. We're like, why would you tell us that? But it obviously didn't look great. It didn't. But hey, at least he's honest.
And that's all we can ask. There's that double standard of, yeah, tell me something, but don't tell me too much because then we're going to turn it into something. Speaking of turn it into something, Michael K., your boy Michael K. I need to know what Michael K. is talking about when he refers to the Pythagorean theory of run differential. I think he's just making it up, but he's obviously just pointing out the Jays now a 2.5 game lead over the Yankees. If this conversation was being had maybe earlier in the week, it'd be a different story, but your Yankees have ripped off a couple wins. I mean, the run differential is obviously massive, right? Plus 105 for Yankees, somewhere plus 20 for the Jays. But at the end of the day, the Jays are a better home team. The Jays have a better record versus 500 teams. The books have the Yankees at plus 100 to win the division. Jays plus 110, basically a coin flip at this point. Who do you have winning the division before the deadline?
Well, first and foremost, I still think the Yankees are going to win this division. I mean, that's pretty much the reason why the odds are what they are. I think a lot of people view it this way, and it's not that I'm really necessarily rooting against Toronto. It's not that. My biggest thing right now, and what Michael K. was getting at, is what you expect, right? Those are expectations. There's a reason on MLB.com you see run differential. It's an important stat. And I think a lot of people in Toronto would understand and agree with it, is that if we had a plus 100 up until this point, we're probably thinking we're sitting where we are in the division. It's a good thing. But you look up for the Yankees and they're thinking about the deadline already. How can we fill all these holes? How can we fix third base, right? The trade market. So what Michael K. was trying to say is that this is what the expectation is based on this plus minus. And it really tells you the story of how bad this team's been in close games, extra innings, right? And if you're not good, and that's when management comes to play. And that's why so many people have been so hard on Aaron Boone. If you're not good in close games, right, you look up and you have a plus 100, and yet people say, well, Boone's not the problem, it's something else. How's that possible when I'm looking at a plus 100? So it's all interesting. I obviously disagree with his point, but I understand where he's coming from.
Yeah, I mean, the man's in the media. You know more than anybody. Being boring in the media just isn't great, right? Like, you have to have an opinion, and you have to be strong on your opinion. You see where it is, and I don't have an issue with Michael K. saying that. And it is, I mean, plus 20 versus plus 105 in a 2.5 game lead is slightly improbable for sure. You mentioned Boone, right? You guys won 3 in a row. It's helped a lot since the Toronto series, but things were getting loud in the New York media. Aaron Boone, should he be worried? And if they do, which they probably won't, but if you were in charge of that situation, you had to get rid of him, when is the ideal time to can Aaron Boone if things kind of stick around these, 6-4, 5-5, and 4-5 straight up over the last 10 stretches?
Well, I think first and foremost, if you're going to try and find the time, it's going to be the offseason. It's always the offseason, right? You want a fresh start going into the season. And how many teams are going out there winning World Series after firing their manager? It doesn't really happen. But you're starting to really look at and say, okay, well, how many teams have lost 7 or 8 games in a row? How many teams? The Yankees got pummeled in Toronto, right? Toronto handled us, and that is what it is, and you have to live with those results. But you also have to remember you should do things for a purpose and not because you're angry. You have to have a replacement in place. There has to be some type of option that you like. I always hate when the Yankees say that, well, we don't want to get rid of this guy because this other, so-and-so would sign him. I don't care who so-and-so is. It only matters to you. So, yeah, who the Yankees should hire. You bring in maybe Don Mattingly. You have some options there. Maybe a Joe Torre-like disciple. It's all interesting, but the Yankees have a tough problem on their hands. Do we have enough talent to win the World Series? That's first and foremost. Is Boone the problem? You have to locate all these things, and I'm just not sure. I think he's part of the problem.
Great segue. into the next question here. Trade deadline coming at the end of the month. Before we get to your Yankees and maybe some moves at third base so you can move someone else over to second base, who are 5 big names that you'd like to see get dealt, maybe outside of the division, or who do you think are the 5 biggest targets, maybe on the bump and in the field too?
Well, first and foremost, I'm going to go with the guy I know the Yankees are involved in, and it's Eugenio Suarez. This is a player who, this is a vet. He's going to swing and miss, and what's new in today's game, but he's also not great defensively at third base. But you know what he can do? He can rake. This guy can change a game with his bat, and that's why so many teams want him. And, of course, at the position of third base, there's a lot to be had there. So it won't just be the Yankees. There are going to be 4 or 5 teams just chomping at the bit to bring this guy in, and I'm excited to see where he goes regardless. Another guy I've got is Jarren Duran. I think I look at a Boston team, right? You trade away Devers. They were telling us it's going to be better when he's gone. It won't be. And now all of a sudden, it's not, of course. And now Jarren Duran, still a really good player, not playing to his level, certainly. He's not Jarren Duran level, but the San Diego Padres are starting to fall off a cliff. They need a left fielder. You lose Jurickson Profar, there's potentially a match there, right? Duran from Minnesota, this guy. And I hopped on with Joe a couple weeks ago and said, hey, Minnesota, he said, are they for real? I told him no, they're not. This is a team that's never healthy. They're very talented. They deserve respect, but they've got some players over there that are special that can really help a contender. I had Philadelphia as one of those teams. They've been looking for a closer for years, a guy they trust. I know they've been trying, but it doesn't look anything like Duran. So very interested to see what happens with him. Nolan Arenado, another player that actually may not be on the trade market. I've been hearing otherwise, that St. Louis, yes, they're winning games. Yes, they're in the thick of it, but it could bounce behind. They can bounce backwards a day or two, and then we could be talking about Arenado just right back on the market, not hitting to the same degree that he's been his career, but that glove is still special at third base. Lot to be had. Edward Cabrera is my final guy. Again, another guy the Yankees are going to be involved in. Maybe Matt Blake, our pitching coach, can fix this. Sinker, slider, changeup guy. Miami doesn't know what to do with any talent. They just don't. So I think it'll be fun to see what some guys do with this guy.
Is Arizona, like everybody's talking about Arizona shipping out arms, are they really just going to sell?
Isn't it tough? It really is, because you're in a bad division. It's amazing how that ends up working out. And all of a sudden there's 4 or 5 teams that you really can justify. You can call them good baseball teams, right? You can look at the Giants and say, you got Devers and I can see an opportunity here. Then all of a sudden you say, wait a minute, you're playing with the Dodgers. Now the Dodgers go on a 7-8 game losing streak. So that's the hard part. You have to read the room. You have to really ask yourself, honestly, because all fans always say, we should never sell. Why would you sell? Why would you give up? Because ownership has to understand, do we genuinely have a shot here? Do we genuinely, with this Ketel Marte, Corbin Carroll, with this group in 2025, is this going to work? Zach Gallen is in a contract year. He may not return. He probably is not. So they have to ask, do we want something back for him, or do we want to give this a shot? I think these next 2 weeks, we'll give it a week and a half. I think probably the next time we talk, we'll know for sure what Arizona's doing.
Fantastic stuff. And back to your Yankees. What move? I know you mentioned Suarez, but what are some other plan B situations? I saw on your feed some big posts about you got to move Jazz off the corner, get him back over to the middle infield on second base. If Suarez isn't an option there, what's maybe the best plan B for the Yankees to shore up some better defense on that side?
Yeah, it's funny. They say they don't listen to anybody. And then all of a sudden, the very next day, you saw that post, he was back to second base. They said it was a physical thing. Jazz, he just can't be over there physically. Got to be over there at second. Okay, great. You made second base much better. Now what? Now third base. Well, Suarez, not a great defensive third baseman, so there's a slight downgrade there on defense. But again, it was just the concept of moving Jazz. And I'm also looking at, what's his name over in Baltimore? His name just eludes me. But very good player. He's just a utility guy. And I would probably just tell you that if the Yankees really want to get serious, Suarez is the guy, right? And then, of course, their bullpen being a disaster Duran would be an awesome fit. They don't really have the guy that they say, okay, this is our lockdown guy. Luke Weaver's a shell of himself. Hurt his hamstring a couple months ago, and he's not the same player. He's just not. He actually showed back up early for that injury. So, yeah, Suarez, Duran, take your pick of bullpen arms. You never know who's available. The Yankees have a few holes. I know that Brian Cashman loves to tell us every offseason, this is the team. This is the team that wins the World Series. I'm like, but that was 15 years ago. So perhaps you guys should start focusing on the now.
Is the AL, should teams sell out a little more because of how, not uncompetitive, but how open the AL is this year?
Absolutely. Same goes for last year, right? The Yankees win the pennant. We beat Cleveland and Kansas City, two teams that we would say were good, not great, right? The Kansas City was up and coming. They had some veterans converted from bullpen pieces into starters, right? And those really started to work out. But, man, how can you look at this American League and say, well, we don't have a shot? No, maybe that's for the National League. You look at the Dodgers. By October, they'll make some moves, and they'll be scary again, you would assume. I can understand being timid in the NL, but in the AL, if you think you're any good at all and there's some trades to be had, I make those trades.
Yep, agreed, especially when it's pretty top-heavy with the top four right now. Locking things down. All-Star game coming. I mean, Acuna, Woods, Cal Raleigh, Byron Buxton, O'Neill Cruz, Caminero, all entered so far at this point. That's 6 of 8. As a fan, is this really as exciting as the MLB can make the All-Star break? Like, nothing changes. I get it. The home run derby is a lot more exciting than the game. But if you had a chance to change anything, what's one thing you would change going into this weekend?
What's funny is I only say the change I would want to see was in the Derby, believe it or not. I don't think Major League Baseball has as much of a problem with their All-Star game because it's not the NBA, right? You don't have to force people in this sport, just the way it's designed, to give effort. If someone's throwing 102 mile-an-hour fastballs, you better get ready, and they do. So I'm looking at the Derby. Bring outs back. How about that? I want to see the ball land again. That was something that's what I remember when I was a kid. And I don't want to be a prisoner of nostalgia, but when a Byron Buxton hits a ball 475 feet, I want to see where that ball landed. But in this current format, it's so rushed, I don't really get an opportunity to see that.
They're slowly changing that idea of not wearing down everybody. And then the finals is just two guys just trying to get through the motion. So 3 minutes first round, 40 pitches. And then at the end, each guy will have 3 outs. They're implementing that. And if you hit, obviously you don't lose an out. But back in the days of Ken Griffey Jr. baseball, Super Nintendo, 10 outs, a round, and that's it. You don't like the pitch, don't swing at it. You get your 10 outs, move on. I think that's a great spot. But you're right, bang on. The MLB All-Star game, just no one complains about it as much as other sports. And that's because baseball, I think, is a sport where you can't really take it off, right? You're not going to go out there and throw an 80% fastball, right? You're not
it's fun to play it. I would say baseball's a fun sport to try it. That's where I would get at. You're in the NFL. Do I really want to hit this? Do I want Cam Chancellor to come tackle me? Is Ed Reed, does that sound fun? Am I going to go head on? Not really. I don't really want to do that. And then you look at basketball. Does a LeBron James, does he want to, right, play as hard of defense on a Kevin Durant, right, on a Steph Curry? Does he want to close out on a three-point shot? Probably not. Unfortunately, that's where we've gone. 25 years ago, they seemingly had no problem doing this, but I guess a different time. And people are always looking for easier ways to do things. So it's not working in those other games, but baseball, luckily, they're in a sport, they don't have to worry about it.
All right, closing thoughts here. Talking baseball tweet from yesterday. You probably already saw it. Cal Raleigh was caught on the hot mic calling Judge the king of effing meaningless home runs after a 7th-inning bomb. They're a plus 105 run differential team. They're in second place. Does Cal Raleigh have a point in terms of where Judge's production comes from and the times it comes at?
Is this a real quote?
It's talking baseball. I don't know.
It's gotta be this has gotta be one of those X accounts.
Oh,
I have to believe you. I think you got duped. I think there's no way.
Followers on the fake talking baseball with an underscore at the end.
No, I don't blame you because there's no way to figure it out unless you go into the account. I don't blame you at all. But I'll use this as an opportunity to talk about how great Cal Raleigh is because it's so hard. People are just destroying everything with these two players. I mean, I actually saw it on MLB Network yesterday, and people were saying, hey, I would vote for Cal Raleigh. I don't remember who said it. I would vote for him for MVP. I was like, really? So if Aaron Judge was hitting 260 with 2 more home runs than he's got right now, you'd say he's having a better season than a player? What are you even talking? We'd be saying it was a down year. Why is Aaron Judge hitting 260? And Aaron Judge is the MVP. I know that the story, it's really cool. I literally talked about it with Joe a week ago. It's awesome. He's having a better season offensively than any other catcher that's ever played this game. That's notable. But unfortunately, when you play in a league with Aaron Judge in it, those numbers don't look so special. So I try to just judge people on their numbers with everybody else, and then Aaron Judge is something different, right? He's not human. And even Shohei Ohtani's numbers offensively, they look very human looking up to Aaron Judge. So yeah, I would assume that quote is fake. But if he did, if he did say it, it would be good TV. It'd be awesome.
Great for baseball, absolutely. But I'm with you. I don't think anybody outside of Shohei's the only challenge, but Aaron Judge, just the best baseball player, best baseball player in the league by far. The numbers, the OPS, the slug, the walks, like it's all. He's getting into that Barry Bonds approach where guys are slowly pitching less to him. 2 walks a game.
I don't get it. I don't really understand what the concept is. I know it's much easier said than done because we're in hindsight. We're like, why would you have thrown him if he's going to hit a 3-run home run? It's hard to just accept we're going to walk the bases loaded because that's not a situation. I mean, if you're in coach pitch, little league, wherever, you don't practice putting people in good situations to score. That's pretty much what we intend not to do. And when you play the Yankees, there's a clear choice. You don't pitch to 99. And also, you were talking about Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds was never the fielder Aaron Judge is as well. And you're talking about a great glove in right field, one of the best arms, most accurate arms in the sport. So he's a lot better than what people think he is. I think he's sort of that notch below Bonds and Griffey and all those guys, mainly because of postseason success. But I think if he gets that under his belt, and hopefully the Yankees help him do that, you're going to start to see conversations that might surprise some people.
No, and let's not throw away the idea that he's a great professional too. Like, he's not a headlines guy. He's a selfless human being with a great background, and he just seems like a great person. So it's always nice to see great numbers and then actual model stuff off the field, which Judge is. So there's one there. But at the end of the day, and I live in the Toronto media of hockey, nothing means anything in terms of regular season numbers as much as it does championships. Are we approaching that point where everything's nice, but you're not going to be on the other side? You're not going to be on the Jeter side of love for the Yankees if it doesn't come through. Yeah,
we're there. I would say we're there at this point. And, I hate to put that type of pressure on a player because in the sport of baseball, and with hockey, it's a team. Right? Sometimes you've got a hot goalie who's got it going, who's just not surrendering a thing. Then all of a sudden, you've got a certain rotation that's really working out. So for me, the Yankees have to do him justice as well. He hasn't performed well in October. He just hasn't. And if it's going to work out, it's going to have to be one of those 2009 Alex Rodriguez postseasons where you look up and say, oh, he figured it out around this time. He did have a big home run last year off of Class A, so it's not like he did nothing. However, did he look like Aaron Judge throughout that postseason? No, he didn't. He looked nothing like himself. If he can do that and the Yankees can get over the hump one time, I hate to be like one of those guys, but actually I'd love to be it. When people say, oh, he's got to win 4, he's got to win 5, that's nonsense. Those are for teams. Yeah. But if Aaron Judge can show I can be part of the solution one singular time, he's better than a lot of guys already. He is. He's a better baseball player. He's a better regular season player. He's just a better baseball player, and that's what this conversation should be. And unfortunately for Judge, it's not, because nostalgia and counting championships, I mean, we do it in the NBA, right? LeBron had to win 7, and he also had to do it in 7 tries. But nobody talks about who your shooting guard is, who your center is, who your coach is. Nobody cares about the context, unfortunately, in these debates.
Yeah, so do it against Skubal, do it against Brown, and etch your name into greatness. So there's obviously a great spot for Judge, especially if he can do it on a year where he was a great player and now he's in a tier by himself in terms of production. So All-Star break here. Lots of noise coming from the Yankee world. I think Boone's job's safe, but it was getting loud there. You got some pieces. Going to be a really good deadline, I think, in terms, because there's lots on the market. There's lots in the field. There's pieces. And like we said earlier, the AL can absolutely go for a run. And there could be a lot of selling pieces in the NL because, as you touched on it, Gary, it's a scary world in the NL to put up against all of that payroll and all of those players. So appreciate it, my friend. Enjoy the week off. It's 162 games. This is it. This is the time to enjoy it. I appreciate it, my friend. We'll see you back here next time with Joe. Have a good one, pal.
Absolutely, man. Thank you.